Hey guys, how's it going? This video is going to be the first of a few parts videos about how to properly match car subwoofers and amplifiers. In terms of, again, we're talking about subwoofers here. Door channels or door speakers and a 4-channel amp is going to be a little bit of a different thing. Originally this was going to be a single part video, but it started to get too long and there were too many things I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to break it up into different video parts. That way you can just click on what you would like to learn. So today we're going to be talking about the impedances of different subwoofers and how to parallel subwoofers to different total ohm loads for your amp. So when we're talking about subwoofers, there's a couple ways that we're going to wire them up. So for example here, we have our amplifier. Doesn't matter what amplifier it is in this case. You just want to make sure that whatever amplifier you're using can handle the ohm load of your subwoofers. So for example, a lot of the cheaper, well I shouldn't say that, a lot of amplifiers are not stable at 1 ohm. So you want to make sure that whatever amp you're going to be getting is correct for the subwoofers you're going to be running. So in terms of paralleling subs, here we have two subwoofers. Don't worry about the drawings, just for demonstration, right? So if these are two, let's say they're Kicker 10-inch comp Cs, right? So these are single 4 ohm voice coil subs. So both of these are 4 ohms. Now there's two ways you can wire these things. They're going to have a positive lead here. That's an X, but you know what I mean. Positive, negative, coming out of there. So here's our speaker wire. To run them in parallel, we're going to take both of these leads, right? So here's our positive, here's our amplifier here. This is the positive input of the amplifier. Here is the negative input of the amplifier. And we are going to run both the negatives from each speaker to the amp. And we're going to take both of our positives. I'll make this a squiggly line so we can tell. Both of our positives are going to run over here to the positive end of the amplifier. So now what this is going to do, it uses something called Ohm's law. Ohm's law you don't have to memorize it, doesn't matter, but it really helps when you're talking about car audio. So Ohm's law is going to be the 2 ohm loads, if you're doing 2 subs, added to each other, divided by the 2 ohm loads multiplied by each other. So 4 plus 4 over 4 times 4. So this is going to be 8, right? 4 plus 4 is 8 over 16. So what that gives us is 2 ohms total rating. We know that if you're terrible at fractions, 8 times 2 is 16. So that gives us 2 ohms. And that is our total ohm load on this subwoofer, right? So what that means is even though we have 2 4 ohm subwoofers, they're going to be running the amp at an impedance of 2 ohms, pardon me. So what that means is if this, let's say this is a Kicker amp, right? Kicker is an entry-level subwoofer type of stuff. Well, and they do make higher products, don't get me wrong, but we have some Kickers, right? So if this is a Kicker 600.1, a Kicker 600.1 at 2 ohms, it's going to give us 600 RMS, right? And then at 4 ohms, it's going to give us 300 RMS. So, and then you can run any amplifier at higher ohm loads than it advertises, but you can't always do lower ohm loads. For example, this Kicker 600.1 is not stable at 1 ohm. So we couldn't do 1 ohm with these 2 subwoofers, but if we had different subwoofers or dual voice coil subwoofers, we would not be able to run this amp at 1 ohm. It could possibly burn up the amp, cause damage, etc. So we don't want to do that. So if you have 2 4 ohm voice coil subs, which is if you're just getting into car audio, just getting some basic entry-level equipment, this is the type of setup that you're probably going to have. And in addition, if these are the comp Cs, each of these subs, if they're the Kicker comp C10s, each of these is rated, let's say they're each rated for 300 RMS, right? So each of these is rated for 300 RMS. So you might say, oh, well, I just need a 300 RMS amp. Well, that is incorrect. You need a total of 600 watts RMS because you're going to add both the power requirements for these two subs together. So, 600 RMS total, kicker 600.1, we're running these two subs at 2 ohms. At 2 ohms, this kicker will give us 600 RMS, so this is literally a perfect match. That would be a great thing here. The other way that you could wire these subs here is going to be in series. So if we have the same two subwoofers, kicker 10-inch comp Cs, 300 RMS, single voice coil subs, right? So each of these are 4 ohms. You have your positive, negative, positive, negative. The other way that you can wire these up is what they call in series. For this, you're not going to run lines directly to your amplifier. Here's our amp here. What you're going to do is you're going to run a lead inside the box from your negative of one to the positive of another, right? Hopefully you can see all this. And then you're going to have the positive off of one going to the positive input of your amp, right? And then you're going to have a negative coming to the negative input of your amp. So what this is doing when we're adding impedances, we're not using Ohm's law, we're just literally adding the different ohm ratings. So in this case, it's going to be 4 ohms plus 4 ohms when we're wiring in series is going to equal a total ohm load of 8 ohms, right? So same kicker 600.1, just for example purposes. The .1 just means that it's a monoblock amp, by the way. So we know this amp at 2 ohms will give us 600 RMS. At 4 ohms, that means it will do 300 RMS. At 8 ohms, it is only going to give us 150 RMS. Approximately each time you're doubling it, you're having the power output of that amp. It's not exact, but for our purposes, it's going to do. So, we know that each one of these subwoofers needs 300 RMS power, right? So even though we're changing the way that these subs are wired, they still need the same power. So if we wire them in series, we're going to need a much bigger amp in order to give us that power. So at 8 ohms, this is only giving us 150 RMS, which is approximately half the power RMS that one of these subs needs. So in this particular case, this is our entry-level setup. You're really going to want to parallel your subs, because when we parallel these two 4 ohms, they bring it down to 2, and it's a perfect match for this amp. The other choice is 8 ohms, if you have, which is not ideal. If you have two 4 ohm single voice coil subs, these are the only two options that you have. So, in most cases, you're going to want to parallel your subs, just like we did here. The only time that you wouldn't is if you have a crazy huge amplifier that does 600 RMS at 8 ohms. Then you would be just fine to series your subwoofers. So, essentially, you can run these two subs off this kicker 600.1. Having more power is not a bad thing. You can keep the gains turned down on your amps, and it shouldn't hurt them too much. You might have to turn them way down low, and you can also wire them differently. For example, if we had one that at 8 ohms it would do 600 RMS, great. Series your subs, that would be just fine. I think that's going to be about it for this video. If you have any questions, please leave them below. I love helping others with car audio, so I'd be happy to answer questions. Trust me, I get a lot of questions that might seem basic that you might be afraid to ask at work all the time, so please ask away, and I will be posting more videos like this in the future. If you have any suggestions for topics you might want to hear about, go ahead and list them up. I'd be happy to write them out on paper or do some actual activities or something like that. But for now, this is the end of this video. Post your comments below. Thanks, and have a great day.